334 BC. A 22-year-old king stands at the edge of Europe, staring across a narrow strait at an empire 10 times the size of his own, the largest the world had ever seen. Behind him, 50,000 men. Ahead of him, the Persian Empire, stretching from Egypt to India, ruled by the self-declared King of Kings, Darius III. Every empire before him that tried to challenge Persia had been crushed. Alexander was about to attempt the impossible and rewrite the map of the ancient world forever. This is the story of Alexander versus Persia, the greatest conquest in ancient history, and the war that would make one young king a legend for 3,000 years. In 336 BC, King Philip II of Macedon stood at the height of his power, having forged a fractured Greece into a single military machine. Then, at his own daughter's wedding, an assassin struck. Philip fell dead within seconds. In the chaos and panic that followed, his 20-year-old son Alexander was rushed forward by loyal generals and declared king on the spot. The kingdom he inherited was a powder keg. Rival claimants, ambitious generals, and neighboring tribes all smelled weakness and moved to strike before the boy king could secure his throne. Alexander responded with ruthless speed, eliminating rival claimants to the throne and crushing every uprising within months. Macedon was his, but Greece itself was not yet convinced. Rumors spread through Greece that Alexander had been killed on campaign in the north. The proud city of Thebes seized the moment and rose in open rebellion against Macedonian rule. Alexander was very much alive, and he marched his army south with terrifying speed, arriving at Thebes before the city even believed it was possible. And the city refused to surrender. Alexander's army stormed the walls in a brutal assault, Macedonian phalanxes smashing through the gates as Theban defenders fought and fell. Alexander made an example of the city. Thebes was razed to the ground, its population sold into slavery. The message to the rest of Greece was unmistakable: defiance would not be tolerated. With Greece cowed into submission, Alexander turned his eyes east. His father Philip had already dreamed of invading Persia. Now Alexander would make that dream a reality. Though he assembled an army of nearly 50,000 men, Macedonian phalanxes, elite companion cavalry, Greek allies, and mercenaries from across the known world. Against him stood the Persian Empire under Darius III, a colossus stretching from the Aegean Sea to the Indus River, commanding resources Alexander could barely imagine. In the spring of 334 BC, Alexander's army marched to the shores of the Hellespont, the narrow strait separating Europe from Asia and the gateway to the Persian world. As his fleet crossed the strait, Alexander steered his own ship and hurled a spear into the Asian shore, declaring the entire continent Spear One territory, a gift from the gods to whoever could take it by force. Before marching inland, Alexander made a pilgrimage to the ruins of ancient Troy, laying a wreath at the tomb of Achilles, the legendary warrior he had modeled his entire life upon. He took up a shield said to be from the Trojan War itself, declaring he would carry it into every battle, binding his own destiny to the heroes of legend. But the myth-making was over. Persian scouts had already spotted his army, and satraps across Asia Minor were gathering their forces to crush the invasion before it could truly begin. The regional Persian satraps, governors of the Western Empire, assembled a powerful force of cavalry and Greek mercenary infantry along the banks of the Granicus River, blocking Alexander's path inland. Their plan was simple: let Alexander's army struggle across the river's steep banks under a hail of javelins and destroy them before they could ever form ranks on solid ground. Alexander's generals urged caution: camp for the night, cross at dawn with a rested army. Alexander refused. Hesitation, he believed, was more dangerous than the river itself. He gave the order. Trumpets rang out across the Macedonian camp. The companion cavalry mounted. The phalanxes leveled their spears. The Battle of the Granicus was about to begin. Alexander himself led the charge, plunging his companion cavalry directly into the river under a storm of Persian javelins and arrows raining down from the opposite bank. Horses screamed and stumbled on the steep, muddy banks as Macedonian riders fought their way up under relentless fire, sheer momentum and discipline carrying them forward. Behind them, the Macedonian phalanx surged across the shallows, 18-foot sarissa spears bristling forward, pushing the Persian center backward step by bloody step. The Persian line began to buckle under the combined pressure, but at the heart of the melee, Alexander himself was about to come face to face with death. Persian nobleman Spithridates spotted his chance, spurring his horse straight at Alexander from the side, raising his battle axe high for a killing blow to the king's unprotected head. Alexander, locked in combat with another rider, never saw the blow coming. For one instant, the entire future of the war, and of history itself, hung by a single thread. At the last possible instant, the veteran general Clitus the Black drove his own sword through Mithridates' arm, severing the killing blow before it could land. Alexander lived, and with his life spared by a single heartbeat, he turned back into the fight with renewed, furious intensity, driving the Macedonian charge forward once more. With their commanders falling one by one, the Persian cavalry's resolve began to shatter. The disciplined Macedonian charge had proven too much to hold back. The Persian cavalry broke and fled the field entirely, leaving their Greek mercenary infantry isolated and surrounded, with nowhere left to run. Alexander showed the mercenaries no mercy for their betrayal of Greece. They had fought for Persian gold against their own people, and few survived the battle's final hour. The Battle of the Granicus was won, Alexander's first great victory on Asian soil, and proof that the Persian Empire was not invincible after all. News of the victory spread like wildfire across Asia Minor. Greek cities that had lived under Persian rule for generations now saw a path to freedom. City after city along the Ionian coast threw open their gates to Alexander without a fight. Sardis, Ephesus, and beyond, welcoming him as a liberator rather than a conqueror. But this was only the beginning. Deep within his empire, King Darius III had received word of the defeat and was now raising an army beyond anything Alexander had yet faced. The Granicus was only the first battle. Ahead lay Issus, Tyre, Gaugamela, and a collision course toward the very heart of the Persian Empire. The conquest had only just begun.
But this was only the beginning of Alexander's legendary conquest.